I'm Nick Ashooh, and we're going to do the best we can to look at what happened against the Packers, but yet at the same time, forget about it.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Armstrong, original 1-3. We're going to break it down, but we're also going to flush it. We're going to put it behind us 10 days until the next game. So let's dig into it. Nick, let's get this thing going.
I want to flush it like a giant bug down the toilet, man.
Hail to the Commanders. It's the Commanders Squad. Everything Washington Commanders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of the nation's capital. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Rally the burgundy and gold. The Commanders Squad Show starts now.
All right, Nick Ashooh, Anthony Armstrong, David Harrison's going to join us in a little bit from Lambeau or somewhere around there, depending on what the locker room actually looks like. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. We're going to look at what happened with this offense. Clearly, the offensive line is a thing. There's also Jayden Daniels and his performance today. Not to mention a ton of injuries. I am sitting on the game day garage set here. This is what we do every Thursday night. And, of course, it was at one point a packed garage full of Commanders fans. And about halftime, people started looking around going, look, big picture here first. We got a lot of things to get into over the next hour, Anthony. But I want to start with just something you said before we actually got on here. And it's a level of, are we worried, or do we look at this and just say, it's early in the season, let's not panic yet?
A little bit of both, honestly. A little bit of both, just because I don't think you expected to see this type of a performance. But me, I'm a realistic person. I always try to find the silver lining or something on that backside that gives you a little bit upbeat, something to think about. So essentially, I look at it like this. You don't play Green Bay that often. All right. And they really wanted to keep their momentum going from the first week. So they dialed up some stuff that, frankly, you weren't ready for. And sometimes as a coach, you walk in there and you say, hey, they beat us. They had a much better scheme put together than we were able to handle at that time. But the positive from this, and this is what I always take as a positive, is that you actually have a blueprint of what you're going to see from other teams. Right. Now you know what teams are going to try to go to, try to mirror what Green Bay has done. And then now you have to find a way to operate off of that. I mean, I was hearing people and having group chats saying Jayden looked a little bit off and, he's not really handling the pressure well. And that's because teams are dialing new things up. They're dialing new things up. And I'm glad to see it on week 2 against an opponent that, frankly, you won't see again until the playoffs. And now you're going up against the Vegas Raiders here in 10 days. So you got 1, time to heal up. 2, time to look at the tape, because frankly, they didn't get to break down or try to analyze that previous tape against the Giants. So I'm going to have a little bit of a pause, but I'm still a little bit nervous, Nick, a little nervous.
I think it's fair to be nervous given what we obviously saw in this game. And I think it's also, too, just the fact that there's a lot of narratives surrounding this team. And, right, narratives can be dangerous. I understand that, right? These can be artificial things that are drummed up at times. But the reality is there were questions about, this team coming off of a season last year where they vastly overachieved. And there's a lot of conversation about whether, that was so much of an overachievement that major regression was going to happen this year. 2 games into the season, you can't be talking about regression, but you do have to look at specific things that did go wrong, whether it's the offensive line and the protection. We also can look at this down the road and may come back to this game and go, oh, Green Bay is really good. So, this loss was just to a team that maybe ends up in the Super Bowl this year. So I think that's the one thing that we have to keep in mind with this. Now, granted, all we can go is what the sample size actually is right now. And the sample size is 2 games, and it's an offense that certainly looked out of sync at times. We talked about it after the Giants game, and we're certainly seeing that again after this Green Bay game as well, where, you didn't have guys like Terry McLaurin out there for most of camp. You had injuries, guys in and out throughout camp on the offensive line. Those are the types of things that don't put teams in a position to succeed once the regular season starts. Now, we also have to keep in mind, too, that, we don't really have much of a preseason anymore. So guys are practically using the first couple games of the regular season as a level of a preseason. I'll tell you where I am now. My panic level is, I'd say it's warm. We turned the burners up on the stove, but we're not at medium just yet. We're still below that. We're back a little bit farther, but I can feel it starting to at least creep in, where if we start to see consistent patterns and that leads into a game against the Raiders, like you mentioned, with all this time off, more time to prepare, And, listen, they're going to have to make some changes and some adjustments given the injuries that we saw in this game, too, that we'll certainly get to in the show as well. But I think those are the types of things that, like, you don't panic, but you have to kind of like lock it away, if that makes sense, where you go, all right, I'm going to take this note down. And if I see it against the Raiders and I see it moving forward, then we got bigger issues going on.
Yeah, and then I will say this, too. You're playing against a good team, right? You're playing against a good team, and this is more of a litmus test. I think I said it on the previous show. We were saying, hey, this is a litmus test of you going against one of the top teams in the league, all right? And then right now you fell short, so you can only look at it as in that way. And now when you look at all the injuries that happened, right? Dietrich Wise Jr., Austin Eckler, unfortunately, like a lot of injuries, a lot of people going down. That doesn't help your case, right? So that can be demoralizing, frankly, as a team. You're just like, golly, somebody else is down. Like we just need something to go well, and it didn't really work. It didn't really work out. I'm looking at the statistics here. Just the amount of carries versus passing attempts doesn't align. Zach Ertz leading the way with all the action. That's cool, but I need to have more yards. So obviously, there's a lot to improve upon. Green Bay had a great game plan, Nick. And you know what? You study it, and you're going to see something similar, but you got to move on to the next team because it's a long season, and you don't have a bye week until week 14.
When you watch Green Bay, because I certainly saw a team that could go to the Super Bowl. I saw a defense that might end up being top 3 in the NFL, relentless pass rush. What do you see in Green Bay after this game?
Man, a problem. They're a problem on defense, and it's all because they added Micah Parsons. Like his ability to get off the line of scrimmage before our team even decided to move was blowing my mind. Like the guy is extremely quick off the ball. I mean, we knew that, but now you got to see it again in a different color jersey. He helps transform that defense, and they can be that much more aggressive. The defensive coordinator was like, "Hey, man, let's get creative with this thing. How we want to attack." Because he can win one-on-one. And it really opens things up for the backside of that defense. Teams can't develop plays like you used to, right? It's one of those things that when you play the Packers, you have to think strategically. We're going to get 7 possessions. You can't get behind the sticks. Like it comes down to winning each and every play. And they're a really good team, right? They're a really good team. And something that you're going to look back to and just say, hey, we got to be able to beat them. I love having a target now, but it starts in the building. But Green Bay is going to be that one that you really want to make sure you get past.
And it's tough, too, when you look at the way the game started off. I mean, the way Green Bay was moving the ball. And bare minimum, even if they weren't, they were throwing deep balls. They were trying to go after the Washington secondary. They were trying to make plays and make back-breaking plays that were going to demoralize them. And quite frankly, I don't think there was a point in the game. I remember seeing it on the broadcast, and it really stood out to me. It was like, obviously it stood out. Let's be honest with the numbers I'm about to give you. Of course, it stood out. It was like average yards per play, I think was around 8.7 for Green Bay, and it was 1.9 for Washington. And it's
that's not good.
You're not going to – and I mean, how many times, especially in that first half, Anthony, did you look and go, they're continuing to face – Washington was continuing to face these 3rd and longs, which were just downright impossible. You had that one point where it was 3rd and 17, and it was a 2-yard dump off to Austin Eckler. It just felt like, when you see a team essentially mail it in and give up on a drive on 3rd down, which is essentially what that is, at least make an effort to throw the ball past the sticks. I would rather have a 20-yard incomplete pass on a 3rd and 17 than a 3rd and 17 that brings up a 4th and 15, like they had. That just to me is it feels like at that point they just looked like they didn't have answers for what Green Bay was throwing at them defensively.
Man, you know what, though? Jayden's going to still protect the ball. And that's what he did last year. And I saw in the comments, Tawanda put a great comment in there. We started 1-1 last year and then heated up, looking for the same thing this year, hopefully. And that's a good point, right? It does take a little bit. Teams are trying to scout you off of last year. They're making game plans to specifically beat you. They don't have to see you for a while. Andrew said, hey, we're not sniffing the playoffs. It's a long time. A lot of things can change before that happens. Hell, Sam Cosmi could be back, right? And that could be a helpful thing to think about. But ultimately, I'm not gonna let this ruin the season. It's 2 games. There's been 2 games. There's been 1 win and there's been 1 loss. Frankly, if we came out and played like this against the Giants, now maybe we're gonna put worry way up at the top of the list, right? It's Green Bay. This is a good team. They're a good team. We know where where we're lacking right now, right? You got to clean up on the pass protection, right? In the secondary, they were testing them. They really were testing them, but that's because they had a lot of confidence in their pass protection. And when you don't have the pass rush trying to get to the quarterback like you have on Micah Parsons, hey, teams are going to take those chances and then try to put the ball in the end zone on you.
Now, I know what I'm about to ask you is speculating, but let's play a game here. What do you think is being said in the locker room after this loss?
You know what? Dan, what we said in the beginning, you got to flush it, right? We're going to get back. We're going to fly home. We're going to break down this tape, and then we got to put it behind us. So the big rule is 24-hour rule, right? 24-hour rule. You want to make sure that you process it, but don't dwell on it too long, right? There's a big, long break. They're going to have a little bit of time to get better. But once again, it's a look in the mirror moment. I remember saying this last year. You got to look in the mirror and say just who the hell you want to be. How do you want to show up as a player? How do you want to show up as a team? And what can you do to make sure that performance doesn't happen again? That's what Dan Quinn's got to tell them. What are you going to do these next couple of days? Because he's going to give them a day or two off maybe, right? Because they got a little bit of time before that next game. What are you going to do for yourself? How are you going to take yourself better? Because this can't happen again, all right? Pass protection. How are you going to improve, right? Everybody get together and talk it out. What are you going to do? But coaching, we talk about it. Andrew putting it in the chat. No pre-snap motions. He wants to talk about no pre-snap motion. You got to move people around, right? Coaches got to look at it. They got to self-scout. This is how you improve. It's not just call the plays and go out there and run it. This is a league where people are trying to take your head off. They are trying to embarrass you if they get that opportunity, and they're not trying to let up at one bit because, frankly, this is a team that can score a lot of points. Washington could. But Green Bay found a recipe that kept them kept that at bay, and they got to figure out how to beat that same recipe later on for the rest of the season.
It was a game of tight ends, too, in this. I'm looking at the numbers here. 6 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown for Zach Ertz on 8 targets. Hope everybody listened to me in the last show. Said take the over 3.5 receptions for Zach Ertz. That thing cashed. I was getting a little nervous for a while, though. But, then on the other side of things, man, Tucker Kraft, 6 for 124 and a touchdown on 7 targets here. The one thing that from a Washington perspective is that you do have guys that when they're out there, you know what you're going to get week in and week out. And Zach Ertz is right at the very top of that list where, the floor is always going to be high. Even if the ceiling isn't something like, again, what Tucker Kraft put up today, or, you still know what you're going to get from Zach Ertz, especially in the fourth quarter, when it felt like for a while. Let's remember here, too, it's not like this was a game that was out of reach the entire way through. There was that stretch where the Commanders were within a touchdown, and you're starting to think to yourself, maybe we actually have ourselves a game. It then completely went the other way, but there was a point there for a while where you did watch it and at least think Washington had an opportunity.
Yeah, I changed clothes before. I said, this ain't right. I got to switch it up, man. This is not what I was envisioning happening tonight. I got too many Packers fans in my life that I got to see over the next 2-3 days. But no, I thought they had, they've shown last year they can find ways to win. They found ways to win 7-8 different ways last year. I felt that same type of vibe going on because they had the defensive stop. They get the touchdown. So I'm like, okay, things are starting to work. And plus, the way the Ravens and the Bills game went, anything can happen in this game, right? So I was hoping for something, but they just ran out of juice, man. They just ran out of juice. We'll talk about Lattimore. I think before we go there, I was thinking about the running back room and how there wasn't much performance there. And I was thinking, man, I think you really need to have that bigger body of Chris Rodriguez. I think that's a thing of him being able to move the pile. But now, obviously, with the injury, but with Austin Eckler, you're assuming that Rodriguez is going to be in the mix because non-contact injury like that, that's probably tough. He's probably out for the whole season. So that's tough. But I think now you got to get Rodriguez in the mix, find a way to be physical up front again, because 42 passes, that ain't it. That's not the recipe. I think I forget what Dan Quinn said last year, but 42 and then a total of 15 or 20, 19 carries. That's not a winning formula for this team.
Yeah, and we knew the run game and the running back room in general was going to be a question coming into it. Jacory Croskey-Merritt, 4 carries for 17 yards. Austin Eckler, 8 for 17 before he went down with what looked to be, we don't know for sure, but it obviously looked to be like an Achilles injury there. And then Jayden Daniels running in for 7 for 17. 51 total yards rushing for Washington. There's no balance to that offense. Now, granted, they're playing from behind. They had to throw the ball more. I understand that the game plan was kind of flipped when they had to deal with that whole thing. But, yeah, this is now going to be part of the question that really hasn't been answered. We thought it was answered maybe a little bit in that Bengals preseason game, which, again, is dangerous when we start looking at preseason games. But you're watching explosive plays in the ground game and going, oh, they figured it out. That's why Brian Robinson wasn't active, and then he gets traded. And then Chris Rodriguez is a healthy scratch to start the season. You're going, okay, like what is this run game going to look like? Well, Austin Eckler is likely going. I think we can be smart enough here and reasonable enough to say, like, it's probably looking like a season-ending injury, non-contact injury, like you said. So the question then does become, like, is it more of Jacory Croskey-Merritt? Do they go looking for some other running back that's out there on the free agent market, or, somebody in maybe a trade, an early season trade, and try to do what Philadelphia did and getting Tank Bigsby, that type of deal? Like, this is the thing that the front office is now going to have to think about. And that longer stretch and the extra time off that they're going to have is going to be what they evaluate. But I'm with you. I think this is going to be more Chris Rodriguez now, and I think this is an opportunity for them to almost move. They're going to have to almost find somebody else besides just Zach Ertz as a crutch, right? Because Austin Eckler clearly was that guy. They've got to figure out who else is going to be a major contributor to that offense, because you don't have Austin Eckler now moving forward.
Yeah, Andrew's in there mentioning using Deebo more often, putting him in different positions in the backfield. And I'm with you, Andrew. A lot of it, at some point, I want to look at the coaches. A lot of times everybody points at players. This player has to play better, this player has to play better. Coaches just coach better too, right? Find ways to get your people open. They do it around the league. You got a lot of talented players. We've gone on and on about the amount of weapons on this offense. They don't do very well. It doesn't do you much if you're not able to get them out of the garage, right? You got to find ways to give him the ball. I love getting Deebo the ball early to let him play physical with those DBs. I didn't like that all these Green Bay DBs were just being so close, but the fact that the pressure, you weren't able to get anything deep, but that's just how it happens sometimes, but make some adjustments. Right, that's what I'm expecting to see, some sort of adjustment, some sort of firepower, some sort of, special that you use to get some momentum early and not let the defense, dictate to you how the game is going to go.
And listen, 1-1 to start the season off and losing in Green Bay is not something to be completely worried about, with the sense that, like, Green Bay is really good and Lambeau's really hard place to play. Like, we can simplify it, but it is true. Like, going into this stretch now, they're 1-1. They got things they got to work on, but it's not a horrible situation to be in. We've seen teams dig far deeper holes than where this team is. All right, we're going to talk to David Harrison a little bit. He's going to jump on with us when he gets done with all of his post-game responsibilities that are going to be out there. Locker room, we'll get a chance to bring him on here as well. Coming up, Jayden Daniels specifically, what we saw, what was good, and what could be a little concerning heading into the second season. It's the Commander Squad. And it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game, whether you're on the course or you just need a little extra push, power through your day. 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. It also works for putt-putt, too. If maybe you're not, an actual golfer, you can use either one, and that's totally fine. But golf is about the good times with good people, whether it's real golf or putt-putt, doesn't matter, and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives the best part to your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the U.S. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for rules. Entry, no purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025.
You a golfer?
Let me tell you something, man. I am a terrible, terrible golfer. In fact, my wife and I, before the football season started, had a nice little trip to Hilton Head. Anybody that's been there, beautiful, beautiful place in South Carolina. I played putt-putt with her. She's better than me. She whooped me. So the answer is no, completely no. But let me tell you something. So I got a neighbor who is he's like a one handicap. He is awesome. And I'm going to get free lessons from him. So I'm going to get better. I'm going to work on it. It is a goal of mine. I just have to find the time to work on it. So we're going to get there. And I'll get some 5-hour energy with it too. Keep me going through those 18 holes. Yeah. Of a lot of Happy Gilmore probably want to break a club. I don't have a lot of patience. I don't know about you. I'm not a patient guy. So that's the issue, is that I want to learn something and I want to get it done right now. So when I don't, that's
golf ain't for you
a little bit.
Golf ain't for you if that's the case. Golf is that
I
game,
know.
man, where it's just like you hit
know.
one good drive and you're like, yeah, man, I'm Tiger Woods. You ruin the rest of the day, but that one good drive will get you coming back next week, buying a new $300 driver and a bag. Good Lord, love me some golf. Don't play anywhere near as much as I want to, though. But if you invite me, we can go to Hilton
listen,
Head.
you know what? This is perfect. It'll be like a show trip. We'll all bond, go play some golf. You can sit there and make fun of me as I'm absolutely horrible, and it'll be good, man. Listen, I'm all for self-deprecation. I can make fun of myself. It's totally fine. So it'll work. Not something to totally laugh at though was Jayden Daniels in this offense today. Again, I know that they were playing from behind, so you're throwing the ball more than you probably wanted to. Jayden Daniels, 24-42, just 200 yards passing, did throw a couple of touchdowns. But here we are again, 4 sacks in this game. Was sacked 3 times against the Giants. So we're seeing an early trend here. Holes in the offensive line, great pass rushes the first 2 weeks. Maybe this is something where as the season goes on, you look back and go, okay, the Giants, the one good thing they had was that they could rush the passer. The Packers, maybe it's one of the best defenses in the NFL. But from what I've seen the first 2 weeks, they went out and addressed the offensive line, but we're still seeing Jayden Daniels running for his life over these first 2 games.
Yeah, I feel like the running game, at least his running game, scrambling it's been a big part of it, right? That's kind of a big part of his attack. This game against Green Bay, they had a plan for that. They're like, we're gonna have a spy. We're gonna quickly trigger on those things. And so, now your next step thinking is maybe you scramble to try to throw something up over the top. You have to figure out a way to make some big plays and make teams pay for doing those type of things to you. But you can obviously tell it had him shook, right? Something's going on. And I don't think it's any type of deficiencies. To me, it's always been processing speed. It's seeing something new, and you have to trust your coaching. You have to trust what you see now because the windows are closing that much quicker. Everybody's watching you that much more. They have tape on you, and they start to pick up on your tendencies. So trust what you see and make that throw, right? You can't wait on it because the windows are closing up a lot quicker. We mentioned it before. Last week, there were a couple of passes that were almost intercepted. I think right now it's trusting what you see, make those quick decisions, and just deliver the football confidently like he does when he's at his best, and not worry about what he's seeing so much from the defense and letting that freeze his mind a little bit.
And it was very clear that the Packers knew exactly what they were doing coming into this, and it was going after Jayden Daniels and making his life hell. I think it was, again, the Giants gave the blueprint, and the Packers continued that thing here, though. But now with this time off, I think hopefully this is a good opportunity to get things right, even just from a chemistry perspective with everybody else that's out there. Because like I said before, right, like this was one of my concerns was what is this offense going to look like early in the season with all of the inconsistencies in attendance, let's just say, during preseason and then during training camp there. We definitely saw Terry McLaurin get involved more in this. I mean, when it came to targets, he had 9 targets.
Yep.
Zach Ertz had 8. So, yeah, and after that, it wasn't even close, okay? So they were clearly going to Terry McLaurin. They were getting him involved. But 5 for 48, these aren't big numbers to start the season. I know. Like, I've seen it. I've seen it on social media. I've seen that there's a lot of the like, well, you got paid, now you got to earn it, which is true. But I'm not ready to sit here and say that, like, it was a waste. I know, right? Because I understand that it's an easy narrative for people to throw out there. It's very predictable. And again, at this point, we've seen this a million times. But I will say this. It can't continue, right? Like the first couple weeks of the season, it should be expected. And I think any reasonable fan, anybody reasonable in the media knows that he was not out there. And I have no problems with him holding out to get paid. Absolutely nothing whatsoever. That's the business. That's how this is done. But there is a level of catch-up that's there now. So the goal, obviously, over this long stretch is going to be getting some extra work in with Jayden Daniels, getting some extra work in even with Deebo, and everybody getting out there, really understanding, making sure that they're on the same page, because you don't want this to become a snowball effect.
Absolutely. You want to get on the right track ASAP. Coming into the league, it was a lot of talk about Jayden leading meetings and locking the door and things of that nature. We got to get back to that. Right? You got to get back to that. Got to up the standard of operation right now. You've been to the NFC Championship. That was last year. That stuff is out of that. That's in the past. That doesn't do you any good right now. Nobody's giving you any W's. Nobody's guaranteeing you anything based on what you did in the past. You have to prove it right now. And frankly, they ain't doing it yet. They're not doing it yet. And I think they're going to get things opened up, but it's been too easy to manipulate what the offense does based on what the defense does. Usually when you're playing with tempo, you're dictating to the defense how things are going to go. And it didn't work like that for them tonight. When you're in this offense and they're going to take away Terry by rolling to a cover 2, and they're going to do all these different things, like I've said it time and time again, play caller has to get, a little bit more creative, mix things up a little bit. You have to be more efficient on your downs. Each individual down, you can't afford to go from a 1st and 10 to a 2nd and 10. You have to find a way to gain some yards. It's frustrating to talk about because I'm like, I wish I had the answers. I don't have the answers. You know what I mean? I wish I could look at the tape and be like, oh, here it is. You know what I mean? So that's the frustrating thing. I was in the middle of the game. I was thinking, I wrote it down. I was like, maybe Green Bay has run out of punches. There's a thing I feel in games where, if you make some special plays, you draw up some unique things. It's meant for those plays to be successful when you run them, right? If they don't hit, then now you're like, oh crap, now I got to scrap that. Where are we going to find? Washington never had those big exciting plays. They never got to those type of plays, and Green Bay was able to make those plays. That's why they were getting creative, running reverses and all that stuff like that. That right there, I don't want that. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. Matt knew he had their number when he was doing those type of things.
I was sitting here watching the game with people here in the, doing game day garage and everything here. And somebody said, and this person is not a Commanders fan. So it was watching from a little bit afar, but it did kind of hit home a little bit. He was like, the Commanders don't have a deep threat right now. And, I kind of looked and thought, well, Deebo, we kind of know what he does. And Terry McLaurin's not like a speedster. When you watch this offense right now, does it feel like they're lacking that one guy that adds that extra level of separation? Like, I don't know, an Anthony Armstrong, maybe they could take the top off of a defense, perhaps,
They have the guy there. They have a couple of guys that have some speed.
Mm-hmm.
This is the point where, as a quarterback, you have to just kind of trust your guy's going to outrun their guy, right? Sometimes you throw a deep ball just to show I'm going to throw the ball deep. You get what I'm saying? That's what I mentioned. There's no reason to have these DBs just sitting all sticky tight on your receivers, just squatting on routes. That should not happen. Throw that sucker deep. Let these suckers know, hey, we will run past you. We will throw it by. If it's incomplete, fine. But at least they have to think about it. You can't continue to just throw it underneath and just expect somebody to break a tackle. These are good tacklers. They're gang tackling. They're bringing multiple people up. That's how they're forcing you to play behind the sticks. It's so difficult to win in this league, to go 10 and 12 plays every single drive. Last year was a special team to be able to do that. You can't do that year in and year out. It's tough, really tough to do. So Green Bay's plan to make them nickel and dime their way down the field was very smart. And it puts, makes you play in tight windows when you get into their red zone. But they're going to have to throw the ball deep. I think Jalen Lane is your guy. Luke McCaffrey has some speed.
Yeah.
Jalen, I didn't even mention who. Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey. Those are your two. They have the most speed. You saw the way De'Ami Brown was used last year. He brought that deep element. You got to get them on the field more often. Frankly, if I'm looking at it, when it's a 12 personnel, I'm not thinking you're going vertical. All right. If I'm a defensive team, if I'm a CB, you ain't going by me. The one I got to worry about is Terry. Right. And then we're going to roll the safety over the top. So then that takes care of this side. 87's blocking. Ertz is going to run about 10, 12 yards. So you can kind of – you see how your mentality's changing on the defense?
Yeah.
Now you go 12, you bring in Jalen Lane. He starts running some corners and posts, and the safety's like, hold on. Now I got to get back a little bit. Now, things open up a little bit. You're letting the defense compress to you, and then you're all these tight compressed splits. They're all down nice and tight too because they don't respect your speed. Make them respect your speed, run by them, throw the ball past them.
Jalen Lane is the exact name I was thinking. That's the guy that, obviously had the nice punt return that was in there. There's the breakaway speed. It is there. It's just getting these guys involved. You're right. And that's what I would certainly love to see more of it. He had 4 targets today, just only 1 reception for 2 yards. By the way, I want to point this out. If you hear any buzzing right now, up here, up in the ceiling where I am, apparently there is a nest of murder hornets near this set at my house. I am not lying to you. They have invaded the last 2 Thursday nights here in this garage on the show that I do, and I can hear it buzzing around up there. And I swear to you, man, if this thing stings me, I'm done. I'm walking off. You're doing the show by yourself. Or hoping
I'll hold it down. I'll hold it
I
down,
mean,
man.
I can hear it. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. These things are freaking huge. They're like people were looking it up during the show, and it's like they fly 25 miles an hour, and
What?
they're 2 inches. Google murder hornet, and then
Oh
it will be your
gosh.
nightmare. You look it up. Look it up
Should
right
I
now.
look it up right now? Oh
I'm
my gosh.
in the garage with one right now. Okay, there's one flying over my head. Look it up,
Asian
and I'm
giant.
yep.
Wow. The Asian giant hornet, also known as the northern giant hornet and Japanese giant hornet, is the world's largest hornet. It is native to temperate and tropical East Asia, South Asia, mainland South Asia, and parts of Russia, Far East. Max speed 25 miles. This sucker will get a ticket in a school zone. You kidding me?
First
And it's
off, they
2
keep
inches long.
to a certain area. They're up and down the East Coast now. I've seen it. I
Mm-mm.
killed like 7 last week. I sprayed
Good
them
luck.
all. I might
Did you dispose of the bodies or do you leave them out? You got to leave it out to set an example.
It's exactly what I did. I left a couple out in the driveway just to make sure they knew who they were messing with. The problem is, if they've now sent some henchmen in here to make a point this week, I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm hoping that's not the case, which is great because, they're attracted to light. So it's not like I'm sitting here with a bunch of lights around me right now, making this any worse. So that's where I am right now.
Oh, gosh.
Jayden got sacked 4 times. I might get stung 4 times. Hopefully that's not the case, but here we are. So I'm just going to leave them alone. I'm going to let them be, and then hopefully they're going to get the hell out of here. But if you see me get up and run real quick, that's what's going on. So
I'll take over for you.
Yes,
I'll take over for you. Don't worry about it. We still got to finish the show. Show goes on.
We'll take over. I'll play hurt.
Yes,
I'll play
indeed.
As I possibly can, right? All right, we're gonna wait. David Harrison hopefully will be joining us soon live from Lambeau. He did say that they don't make it easy to get on the field after the game. So my first question is going to be whether or not he's actually on the field and down there or not. Then, of course, we're going to look at some of the Washington defense and what we got out of them as well, and whether or not this defense is going to maybe have to carry them moving forward. It's Commander Squad. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300. I'm not lying, in bonus bets, just to use on that app. And, of course, the really good thing is if you listen to me before, you may have gone to FanDuel and bet the over 3.5 receptions for Zach Ertz, maybe the under in this game. Both those hit. We're going to keep going with Zach Ertz the entire year. That being said, though, of course, all of that happens when you're on FanDuel. And if you haven't done it yet, $5 gets you $300 in bonus bets. That's a lot. $300 gets you a ton of bets. You can just bet a little bit, just dabble in, just get used to it, get comfortable. The beauty about sports betting is you can just have fun with it. You can just a little bit, just a little sprinkle is all you need. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bets. And there's buzzing going on still behind my head. So this is going to be a thing the entire time. I'm going to play defense like I wish Washington maybe was able to do a little bit more. See how I segued there? That's how we do it. It's late tonight after the game. I'm delirious. It's after midnight. I will say this, though. It does kind of feel like, and I don't know how you felt about this, but I felt like given the fact that Washington's defense did have a lot of time on the field, you were getting a lot of 3-and-outs, especially early, and quick drives from Washington's offense. The defense did a relatively good job, in my eyes, trying to bend but not break in this game. Eventually, it just got to the point where they just couldn't get off the field. They were clearly exhausted. You dealt with some injuries on top of that. The Dietrich Wise injuries is certainly going to be a major blow to them with the defensive line. They were really trying to bulk up specifically. So that's a big body that they're going to lose here now. But, Jordan Love was making it clear he was going to go deep on them. And they made a conscious effort to try and avoid those big plays as much as possible. But, there's a certain point where you just go, there's only so much a defense can do if the offense isn't pulling their weight.
Jordan Love was taking some strategic shots, man. It was methodical how they were doing it. Like they would just work themselves into a one-on-one. And just watching that offense operate for Green Bay, I was impressed. I had to give Matt LaFleur a couple of rounds of applause because he did a great job of getting his receivers in positions where the DBs were not going to be stationary and could not lock in and just, D somebody up. They had to catch them on the run. They're going in motion, running out and ups and things like that. That's tough to cover, right? That is tough to cover. He really made it a track meet out there for those DBs, and I thought they did a solid job just based on the scenario. I mean, you're dealing with a wide open offense. You're on the field often. They're converting third downs. Like they played their asses off, to be real. The secondary did. I think Trey Amos made a great play early on, diving on that post route that was in the end zone. So they played well. It's just like you say, some games you got to get more help from your offense. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, please convert a third down. Just give me one. That's all the defense is thinking. Like, come on, bro. You hear punt team, get ready. Like, come on, not again. All right. That's how the defenders had to be thinking. They're like, just give me one first down. We can take a breath. Because frankly, the game was close. The defense did their job. Mm-hmm. You would say, right? With the offense not getting any action, 3 points at halftime, it could have been worse, right? It could have been worse. So the defense held it as long as possible. Tawan's asking, did Joe Witt pressure enough? Green Bay running that no huddle, Tawanda. Yeah, it's tough to dictate and dial up pressure when you're not sure how fast somebody's going, right? They're not really setting. They're getting lined up quickly. And a lot of times there's checks that they'll have. They'll say, hey, just run cover 2, run cover 3, and let's just get to the next down, try to come up and make a stop. So the Green Bay's offensive game plan could affect Joe's ability or willingness to go and blitz. Because the other part about blitzing is you're leaving somebody. There's going to be a gap in the backside, on the back end. And if Jordan Love picks the right person, it's not 14 points, it's 21. Like, there could be a slant that gets taken to the house, and it may be a risk reward thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, let's not pressure. Let's see if we can get him to throw it quickly. Let's come up and tackle. If you break one up, now you're looking at third down, 3rd and 3. Hey, let's play defense on third down. So you kind of have to, you may change your mindset of how you want to do it. So you could pressure a little bit more, but if you're not getting to the quarterback with that pressure, let's back up and play zone. So it's kind of a pick your poison thing. That is a great question.
Yeah. And listen, I think too, we certainly saw them strong against the run against the Giants, but Josh Jacobs is going to bring a little bit more to the table. They held him to 84 yards in this, so it's not like this was like Josh Jacobs ran all over them, but he does get in the end zone, and you do still have, key first downs that came from his running. So there were little things in there where you just go, again, I do look at this and say there's only so much that defense can do to a certain point where plays are going to be made. But, we talked about the deep balls and Jordan Love really trying to go for those back-breaking plays early. I know we haven't seen the all-22. We haven't had a chance to really see what sort of the looks that the defense was giving Jordan Love. But is that from what you saw, was that more based on just trying to make a statement, trying to make the big plays earlier, or was that maybe seeing some holes or going out? Because Trey Amos made a couple of good plays, a couple of pass deflections, things like that. Like, what in your mind from what you saw was the reason for some of those deep balls early? Just being aggressive, or maybe something specific that they were seeing out there?
I think it's a little bit of both, where you see that you're going to get some pressure up front and you trust in the blocking and how you've identified it, then they're trusting the fact that, hey, we're going to have enough time to throw the ball deep. If they're able to work it into a formation where it's going to end up getting one-on-one coverage across the board, they're going to take that shot deep, right? That's the difference, where with Washington being aggressive and playing press man, just walking right up there saying, hey, it's mano y mano. That's an easy read that they're saying, okay, cool, we'll throw the ball deep. We know what we have. We know what type of looks we have. So, it's one of them things. I don't necessarily think that they were out there saying we're going to bomb on. We feel like we can beat everybody one-on-one. I know that Matt LaFleur is going to be confident in his Green Bay offense, and his receivers can go out there and battle against anybody. But I wouldn't say that they're going to circle Marshawn Lattimore and say he's our matchup. I think it's more of just the read, right? Just saying, all right, we got one-on-one, and they got a big post with some speed out there. You throw the big post. Doesn't matter if it's Marshawn Lattimore, Trey Amos, Sam Still, or Deion Sanders. You'd still throw that post.
And listen, you just named 3 names besides Deion, obviously. That they've got some talent in that secondary. So I don't certainly look at that as a weakness at all. It did just feel like that was them trying to establish the deep ball early and make some plays. But again, like when Green Bay continues to get ahead of, the sticks and continues to move the ball upfield, and the Washington offense just wasn't doing that, you get to a point where it's like, yeah, the defense was just going to eventually break, and that's exactly what we saw. With the injuries that we've seen for this team, I mean, Austin Eckler, I know we touched on that briefly. Let's really look into like what that means for them from that and Deatrich Wise. So that's two that again, none of this is official, but we have an idea seeing those are likely season-ending injuries. Is it more, I hate to put it this way, but what is a more devastating injury from a roster perspective, given where the roles are for Washington out of those injuries that happened tonight?
Yeah, no disrespect to either player. I think it's Deatrich Wise, just off the fact of how he performed week 1, and being able to help compress the pocket from the other side, and the sheer size across the line of scrimmage. That's a mighty loss right there. That's a pretty big loss. Eckler is still a big loss from a leadership standpoint and just what he brings, but I think they were getting close to probably being ready to let the young fellas kind of handle a little bit more of that load. And obviously now they'll get forced that way. But for me, it's Wise. Just being able to control, especially this division. You know what I mean? You're going to have to really win at the line of scrimmage, and that was a big force and plan that they went to go and address. And then, him going down, like you said, hopefully not season ending. I fingers crossed on that one. So hopefully not season ending, but man, he's the one that I feel is going to have the biggest impact of not being on the team.
Listen, both have major roles on this team, but it comes down to like, okay, what are those roles? And then and I know it's a cliche, right? But it's the next man up mentality. I think the one thing is that Washington kept 4 running backs on this roster for a reason. This now becomes more about Chris Rodriguez. Again, there's a lot of things that aren't good about this injury, but I think one of the major things you lose, you talk about locker room with Austin Eckler. It's locker room, it's leadership, but it's also that comfort zone that's there. There was always the comfort zone, which in some ways I feel like we saw it a little too much tonight, and I get it. Sometimes it's what the defense was going to give you. But there were a lot of dump-offs. There was a lot of just getting it to Austin Eckler just to try to make a play. Having that safety net is a great thing for a young quarterback. I mean, it's good for any quarterback, but it's certainly good for a young quarterback on top of that. So now Jayden Daniels has lost that. So the question now becomes, Zach Ertz, we know, is going to be one of them. Without question, that's going to be the dude he's throwing the football to when he really needs a play and it's 3rd and 3 or whatever the case is. But after Zach Ertz, is there going to be somebody out of the backfield? Is Deebo Samuel going to be used a little bit more as a running back, or at least lined up in a way to try and make defenses think that's going to be the case? Are we going to see Jacory Croskey-Merritt, Bill the running back, actually be used a little more as a receiver consistently out of there? Does Chris Rodriguez take this opportunity that's likely coming his way and running with it? Like, a lot of these are just, we don't have answers to these yet, but those are the things that I'm really going to be looking at from the Austin Eckler side of things on offense. Is it that backfield now? There were questions coming into the season. There were questions last year with a very inconsistent run game. So now it comes down to, what are they going to do with the guys that they have left? Because they don't have the veterans. I mean, Jeremy McNichols obviously is a veteran that's certainly going to be there, but we know he's out there more for blocking purposes. And, there is a leadership quality that he can still bring to the table, but Austin Eckler is going to be a loss from a lot of those standpoints too. But they do have guys that, if this team does have the confidence they said they have confidence in, then they can actually make a point to get them more involved in the backfield.
I'm scrolling on the website, the Commanders website right now. The only other rookie on practice squad running back, Donovan Edwards. That's about it. So they're going to have to go do some shopping. They're going to have to find another running back, bringing an extra body. But you mentioned it, a lot of youth now in that running back room. McNichols being the lead dog in age, the old guy on the team. You're Unc now. You get to be Unc. McNichols has some some skill set, right? He did do some good screens and things last year, but we talked about by committee before. It's finna be by committee like a mug right now, man, because ultimately, like, now defenses they don't have anybody to really just go off there and just say, yeah, we got to shut this person down. They can roll all their resources into stopping Jayden. They can roll all their resources into trying to slow down some people on the outside. So creativity is big, man. Look at the tape and find out what worked the week prior, right? You have to be able to install like 10, 15 not 10, 15 different plays. You install like three to five plays that are your home runs. The one I mentioned before, go find some that worked on this team previously, a la how Ben Johnson used to do his stuff. They'd find some plays that worked from previous weeks. That way you can start to manufacture points, okay? Because right now it's not working with just your base offense. Let's just give it to Jayden and go run our stuff. That ain't hitting right now. You got to come up with a hook. You got to come up with an uppercut. You got to come up with a bag of nickels that you hit these teams across the head with to create some momentum for your offense. Because right now you can't – trust me, you can't turn around and say, we're just going to hand it to 22. No disrespect, man. No. But I can't just turn around and hand it to 22. It ain't Derrick Henry. Right? This is a young fella. So we're going to get him going, but it takes the rest of the offense to get rolling before you're going to get a lot out of this run attack.
I wonder if they could get Derrick Henry from the Ravens. What do you think? Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
You know what's crazy? Last week when Malik was very upset, Malik Neighbors, I was like, shoot, man, I might want to make a trade. Go call over there. See if they want to save Malik Neighbors. Free Malik out of New York.
Hey,
but
do you imagine Malik Neighbors in this offense? Whew, that would be something special.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. Just another body to throw it to. You talk about trading for somebody. Why don't they go up to New York again and go holler at the Jets? See what Breece Hall is talking about. See if they want to go and get him.
They're going to have to figure this out. They really are. This is not going to be enough depth for the season. I could see Adam Peters making some phone calls to teams. It's, you're better off trying to see if there's a running back that you could bring in a trade versus a guy that's going to be a free agent right now. But it depends certainly on who's out there. I am seeing too a lot in the comments here about Matt Gay. There may be some kickers brought in this week. 1 for 3, missed a couple. I get it. One was a 58-yarder. We're talking all these over 50. But now in today's NFL, as unfair as this might be, the standard is like 50 is supposed to be close to be automatic, at least for a kicker. And Matt Gay just did not bring that tonight. I can guarantee they're bringing in kickers for workouts.
Yeah, they're going to be a good 2 to 3 that are showing up there tomorrow. Friday, Saturday, to all of them. They're just going to keep bringing bodies in, and then let it be known too. It's going to be visible that there are kickers working out. Teams do that to send that message. I mean, once you miss one, things have to change. What was it? Going back to the Jets, saw the video about Aaron Glenn. They cut their kick returner because he fumbled the ball. They're like, we're not going to have you on here for these type of things. If you're going to take points off the field or take points off the scoreboard, they got to start making decisions, start making changes. That's just the life of this league. Tawanda, she's asking, she said, please, can we talk about Lattimore? She says she feels like he lost a step or two for sure. Tell you what, man, I had to look at the tape, see if he's lost a step or two. I still feel like he's a talented corner. And when you are put in positions to where they're saying you just going to play man up, no help, sometimes you're gonna lose and it may look bad. That may be what's going on right now. It's tough to say. Coming off of the injuries that he had, the hamstring, it was a groin, I think. So they'll change of direction could be something to consider. But I still think he's a top corner in this league. I still think he's somebody that can, be effective for this defense. But he was getting worked. And like I said earlier, the motion. Whenever they're motioning people and you have to run across the field, you're already working from behind. You can't get up and get into a comfortable press position. They motion off the line of scrimmage. I played arena football, so I know a lot about going in a motion around the back and then running full speed at the line of scrimmage. People can't do anything with that. So LaFleur's scheme does a great job of getting press off of his receivers. All of his receivers, except for Christian Watson, are about 6 foot and under. They're smaller guys. So there's that. Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts. Maybe David will join us. We'll see. I know he said depending on what the locker room looked like. So we ride with it and we'll roll with it, and we look ahead to what we could expect from the Raiders with this long layoff for the Commanders coming up here on Commander Squad. And you can just move through life, or you can find the things that move you. It's your choice, and you can choose to get out there. Choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really, really go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars that those who choose to do more can simply move. Mazda, move and be moved. Lattimore is going to be a guy that I think we expect to also be kind of caught up in a lot of the we traded for you, now you got to perform. And, this is where we are now. I think you have a little bit of I don't even want to use the word built-in excuse, but you have some level of okay, first couple weeks of the season, not a lot of preseason, blah, all these things exist. Now we're going to get to the point after this break where if we continue to see some of these patterns, Marshawn Lattimore maybe getting beat, the footwork's not right, Terry McLaurin not getting involved more consistently in the offense or making bigger plays, or there's a lot of narratives coming out of this game that, if we see them moving forward after this break, that's when we start getting into the has this team regressed? Because I hate to say it, but that's going to be one of the things that is certainly said about this team moving forward until their next game was last year a fluke? Was last year an overachievement? The thing that concerned me heading into this season based on last year was, they won 12 games. Yeah, they went to an NFC championship game, but a lot of those wins, at least in the regular season, came against backup quarterbacks. And that does matter in this league. The quarterback matchups that you have absolutely matter. Because strength of schedule, I get so sick of that conversation of strength of schedule in the offseason. And it's we're basing it on last year's record or win totals or projected wins. None of these make any sense. But now you start to look at the actual season as we get in and go, okay, let's look at the quarterback matchups. Let's see what you've got on the table here. Jordan Love really made an effort to try and put pressure on the Washington secondary. And from the other side of things, you see a pass rush coming. There's a lot of stuff over these first 2 weeks that if they become a pattern and we start to see it rear its ugly head against the Raiders, I think that's when we start going, oh, this may be a season of serious regression. I'm not ready to do it yet. I'm not ready to say that totally yet.
Too early.
But I listen, you and I have talked about this, right? They could win 10 games this year and be overall a better team, but they just have a tougher schedule. And there's a lot of things that go into that. But what the most important thing to see is that this team is continuing to improve, and we want to see the trajectory, the arrow pointing up, heading back into this, getting back out of this long break they've got coming up.
That is the key right there. It's you can see the on-field performance. What is it looking like on the field? What's the product looking like? The points are going to happen. They'll be up and down because both sides are good. The defensive coordinators are good. You're not going to have a perfect game every single time, but are you finding ways to win? Are you winning in situational spots in the game? Are you the last week with the throwing the ball out, intentional grounding? That's not characteristic of what you would expect this team to have done last year, right? So those little things, clean up those details. That's what I'm looking for from the squad. The wins will come. The wins will come. But you can't rest on the laurels and think that we're just good enough because we did it. You know what I mean? No. That's not how this thing goes. That's not how this thing goes. Even the Eagles are talking about, we won the championship last year, but it doesn't matter now. It doesn't. It doesn't. And you can still be favorited. You still have Jayden, and he's super talented. But we already seen it. You can't just rely on him. It takes an entire team. So step it up. Step it up.
And I think the one thing, too, is Jayden Daniels is going to work. He's going to watch film. He's going to take this time and really focus on all the little things he needs to work on. We talked about his relationship with Bobby Wagner and how he kind of gives him a perspective from the other side of the field and what he's doing and what linebackers see and what defenses see. All of those things matter. But this is again, it's very early in the season, but this is a turning point still for Jayden Daniels specifically. What is he going to get out of these first two games? One win, one loss. But what is he also then going to improve on and work on? And I think if we see him coming out there, because we know one thing, he forgets, right? Bad play, smiles, laughs it off, moves forward. But if we see improvement and a level of focus and maybe more of a sharpness with this offense come week 3, that's going to be a sign that everything is still, the trajectory, everything's going still in the right direction. That's one of the most important things. But Jayden Daniels is somebody that's the utmost professional. And for a guy to get this locker room last year, to really buy into him and his leadership as a rookie, that's a real telltale sign that there's something special there beyond just what he does on the field. It's that he's mature. It's that he's a leader. And let's be honest, too, the big game experience and all of really the college experience really does matter. He's seen a lot more football on the field versus a quarterback that just has less at this point in his career.
Yeah, and I think this much here. You're going to need a voice on offense, a vocal voice on offense. It's going to really, tell everybody to step their game up. And maybe it needs to be 17. I need 17 to show up. If it's not, on the field with the performance in that regard, be the one that gets this offense going. Because if Austin Eckler was the heart and soul of it, and he was a big vet inside of this thing, Terry McLaurin has to be the one to retake the reins. You were gone all of training camp. All right, and then you got your money, and now you're back. Hey, show back up and be the guy that we know you are, right? Show back up and be the leader that you know you are, and help get this offense back rolling. Help up the standard of how this thing is going to operate. For Jayden, it's to process faster. See it, believe it, deliver the football. See it, believe it, deliver the football. Play carefree. I don't care if you throw an interception. There's 60 minutes in the football game. Just don't throw it on the last play of the game, right? That's it. I don't care about a first quarter pick. Throw the ball deep. They have to be more aggressive. They have to change their mentality. You're not going to wear everybody down by nickel and diming your way down the field. So change it up. You got to switch your mindset. Lock in. Lock TFN. I know I ain't going to say that. I'm going to get in trouble.
I think they told us we're not. That was one of the things they told me. They said, you can't say no words on here. And I was like, come on. This is like I spent all this year, TV and doing all this. I'm not allowed to. That's the one time I can do it. I'm not even allowed to do that here. I got to be a professional? Wait a minute. That takes all the fun out of it, Sometimes I need to drop a good F-bomb. Like if I was playing golf right now, I'd be dropping F-bombs left and right probably.
Oh, my God.
It's therapy. It's therapy.
Nick killing me over here, y'all. Oh, my Lord. Oh, I can't breathe.
Look, I will say this, though. I kind of putting a bow on everything in this immediate reaction that you and I have had after that loss. I'm certainly not ready to panic. And I didn't go into this year expecting 12 wins again, but I did expect to see growth. And that's what's really going to be telling in that Raiders game. Growth and this team looking like they put what happened against the Packers behind them. And honestly, too, we could be talking about the Packers in the Super Bowl. That could end up being how good this team is. So it may look back we may look back on this when it's all said and done and be like, actually wasn't as bad of a loss as we thought it was. So it's tough 2 weeks into the season. These are the only examples we have. This is the only sample size that we have. But you also then maybe read into it too much where this could just be Green Bay's really that good. And it just made Washington look like they were in disarray on offense because they weren't totally in sync yet. Guys haven't been on the field much with each other. And Green Bay's defense is top 3 when this is all said and done.
So this is basically your one hall pass. That's it.
Yeah.
This is your hall pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the excuses that you want to make, short notice, and everything happened this week. This is your hall pass. Get better from it. Study the tape, and then let's go, man. LFG. We got to turn the tide around. You got to turn the ship around. Right? Don't dwell on it because we've been around this organization and fan base too. Love y'all, but been around it where it gets very negative. And it gets so negative where once a bad thing happens, everybody's ready to pour the fuel on it. And that's it. Throw it all away. And I remember last year fighting every single week. I'm like, guys, don't do this. Don't go down that road. And I'm telling you now, just don't go down that road. All right. Don't go down that road. There's going to be frustrations and trust. Them guys ain't out there trying to suck it up. They ain't out there trying to do bad. And I just stay with them, stay pushing with them. They're going to get this thing right. It's going to go down the right direction. Changes will be made if it has to, but y'all stay supportive for real.
All right, just before the end, David Harrison jumping on with us live from Lambeau. Now, you said you weren't sure if you're going to be able to get on the field after the game. I see it behind you.
Here we
you
are.
Got it there. So clearly you walked your way past security and said, screw you, I'm getting down here. Listen, we've obviously spent almost an hour looking over this game. You were in the locker room. You've heard coaches and players and everybody talk. What's the overall mood? What's being said after this loss to the Packers?
They just got beat, right? I mean, and that's the easiest way to put it is they just got beat, and they just weren't communicating properly on the defensive end. Their eyes weren't in the right place. That was a very common theme was, our eyes have to be in the right place. And I asked a couple of guys about, the Green Bay Packers offense and kind of how they use leverage, right? We talked about that in our preview episode, how they leverage defenses. And I think they did that really well in this game. Obviously everybody wants to go back and look at the tape, but I think that when you go back and look at it, you're going to see that they did. I mean, honestly, there was one specific play that really kind of stood out just in real time where Jordan Love motions his tight end, from one end of the formation to the other, waits. And this is, I think, where the kind of the key to the play comes in. that's kind of subtle sometimes, is he waits until Mikey Sainristil comes up to the line of scrimmage. Doesn't just wait, let Mikey follow the tight end. He waits till he comes forward to the line of scrimmage. Then he motions his tight end back to the other side. And Mikey now is at the line of scrimmage. He's got to run around all of his defensive teammates. And it gives that tight end, who certainly is not faster than Mikey Sainristil, it gives him a lot of real estate to work with because they leveraged what the defense was doing. And you know, that's the danger of a coach like LaFleur, of a coaching staff like the Green Bay Packers, is they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And it's more than just, you know, you go run faster than this other guy. It's not about who the most athletic person is all the time. It's about who's making the right checks and who's seeing things the right way. And today the Commanders just didn't see it the right way.
I mean, hey, I ain't got nothing to say. David said it right. That's it. They didn't see it. They, with all that motion and shifting and you flipping sides, the DBs are thinking, okay, I'm on the right side. Now I'm on the left side. What does that change? My feet change. Where's my help? My help is this side now. Oh, now my help is this side. Are we in 3? Do I need to back? Do I have a hook curl underneath? All these different thought processes going through. And I'm gonna say it's not an excuse. That's just the process. You know, they're professionals. They get paid the money. They got to go out there and execute it, right? But now, hey, eyes are in the wrong place. You've used that excuse. It's just like a Survivor League, right? You've used that excuse. My eyes are in the wrong place. Got it. Can't use that one no more. You know what I mean? We can't use that one no more. So find a way to get better. Find a way to get better, because you're going to see it next week. And then you're going to see it the week after that. That's the way this league works, man. If you have a wound, they're going to dig right in that sucker and see if you fixed it. My man Gerald going crazy. He said, hi, David. Gerald said hi.
What up? What up, Gerald?
And then he keep going in on Lattimore. He just talking.
Gerald's been mad tonight. Gerald has been so mad.
He's upset. Yeah. He's upset.
I mean, look, Marshawn's not happy either. You know what I mean? So if that makes you feel any better, believe me, Marshawn is he's not a happy camper right now.
Yeah.
David, injuries.
Don't take care of him.
What do we know about some of these injuries here? Obviously, Dietrich Wise and Austin Eckler are two of the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the biggest ones, right? I think those are the ones that, you know, you hate to speculate. I'm not a doctor, but, you know, you watch football enough. Anthony, you've done more than watch football enough. Those are the bad ones. You know what I mean? And you can go to bed at night and pray that it's not as bad as it looks. But, you know, we got to see, not really allowed to talk too much about it, so I'm going to be careful here. We saw one of them in the locker room, and I'll just tell you, you know, from getting to know him for the little bit of time that I have been able to get to know him and his demeanor and how he usually is, it's not good news. So we'll just copy paste that to both those guys. But yeah,
sure, yeah. And at this point, obviously, we'll wait till the team kind of brings up, you know, exactly what that is. And you know, at this point, positive takeaways for you from this. Obviously, it was a bad loss, but anything that stood out that you liked?
I think that what stood out to me at the very end is seeing a guy like Deebo. You know, game is gone, but you know what? I'm going to take this, you know, 2-3 yard catch, whatever it is. I'm going to try to make a move. I'm trying to make a guy miss. I'm going to try to get through this alley, through this gap, and make it a 5-yard gain. You know what I mean? And you hate to kind of look back and say like, well, they never gave up, guys, because that's such an aw shucks thing to say. But it is really important to see the competitor in a player throughout the entire 16 minutes. And, you know, we came into this thing talking about hearing from guys like Dietrich Wise and Zach Ertz, who said, we're kind of already in this training camp mode. So, you know, having a short week isn't really all that different than what we've been doing. But now you come out of it and you kind of wonder, going straight from training camp mode into the season, into this short week, did that kind of contribute to some of these things, right? And it's just another reason, you know, I think we talked about it. Like, I hate these Thursday games. I think they need to go away. I think the NFLPA, like the next time you get a chance to come to the bargaining table, that needs to be the first thing on the table is, look, we're getting rid of this. We're getting rid of this. Anything else you want, it doesn't matter until we get rid of this. So that's going to be the very first candle we're going to light in this conversation is no more Thursday Night Football. We don't care about all the other arguments for it. It's just not going to happen anymore. Forget the single digit numbers. Forget the higher threshold of THC. Forget all that garbage. This needs to be priority number one as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, I'm not in the league. I'm not a player. So we'll see what they decide to do when that time comes. So, you know, so that kind of gets me a little bit frustrated for them, so to say. You can probably tell. But I think that the other thing that stands out in the locker room is every single one of them, you know, you ask them, every competitor wants to get back out there, get the taste out their mouth, get a win, you know, go out there and dominate somebody else to get this out of your memory bank. But is there an advantage to having the extra time before you take on the Raiders when you get your butt kicked the way that you just did? And every single person we asked that question to said, yes, there's absolutely an advantage. It gives you more time to learn from your mistakes and learn what went wrong, so that then when you flush it, you've done a really good job of sifting through all the garbage. And that is the answer that you want to hear. That's the mentality you want to hear from all of these guys. And it came from linemen, linebackers, DBs, receivers, like every different position group all said the same thing. Yes, we want this extra time to sift through everything that just happened.
David, obviously the injuries are going to be a big blow just to the overall like emotion and demeanor of the team. There's going to be players that lift people up. How do the coaches, go about lifting these players up and getting them ready to get back out there on the field and battle after tonight's loss?
I think you got to do exactly what earned the respect of the coaching staff in the first place. Since the day that they stepped foot on here, or in the organization with the players who were already here that they inherited, and that's just be upfront, right? Dan Quinn has talked about it all the time, that these guys have been BS their entire lives. They were stars in a Pop Warner, high school studs, big men on campus in college, 5-4, even 3-star recruits are pretty sexy people in the right neighborhoods, right? Like these guys are used to people just masking it or giving them the message because they think that's the right message to give them. Shoot it to them straight. We know Dan Quinn has Tell the Truth Monday. Well, Tell the Truth Friday is about to get real ugly because there's a lot of dudes who already know their truth, but they also are going to hear it from their coaches. And I think that's the best way. You know what I mean? Like if you come in after a defeat like this and you change as a leader, as a coach, as a mentor, as a teacher, you change when the going gets hard. And that shows you that it's different, right? It has a bigger impact. And it can't have that bigger impact because at the end of the day, this is 1 of 17, and 1 of 17 has to be weighed the same as the other one of every 17, or else it starts to kind of become, okay, well, is this going to be a bigger deal if this happens here? Is this going to be a bigger deal when this happens here? And where does that kind of difference really kind of stop? And then you end up with a player who comes out there. I talked to Trey Amos, and this is his first NFL loss. Like I don't want to ask him questions of what's the plan for your next week? He doesn't know. He's never been through this before, right? So it's more so like, what are you looking for from your vets? And he told me he's looking for stability. He's looking for control. And something that he did notice looking back on it, even in the immediate aftermath, is even when everything was going wrong, even when the game was slipping away and tight ends are having career days against them, there's no panic. And there's no, oh crap, we don't know what we're doing. It's no, hey, here's where we need to get tighter. Here's where we need to get better. It didn't work. You know what I mean? But it's one thing to not have the right answer and then panic and not do anything. It's one thing to not have the right answer, but go out there and say, look, this is what we think is the answer. Let's go find out if it's right. Sometimes, man, you find out that it was wrong. You know what I mean? That's just the nature of competition. But what Trey is pulling from them is stability, consistency, and that's what they need from the coaches as well.
All right, before we get out of here, what needs to change in your eyes to make you feel comfortable about the rest of this season against the Raiders?
What needs to change against the Raiders is they just need to get back to playing their style of football. The team that we saw out here today was not highly energetic. It was not as physical as we expected them to be. It almost kind of felt like they said, okay, well, let's see how physical the Packers are going to be. And then if it's not too physical, we'll outdo them. And then when the Packers came out here ready for a fist fight with brass knuckles on, they're like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to bring on the physicality, we don't know if we're going to bounce back. And I think that's not, Commander football. I didn't get to hear Dan Quinn's press conference, but I'm fairly certain what I just said is a paraphrasing of something he said at least once, if not multiple times, in his press conference, because you get to know a coaching staff, you get to know a roster, you get to know what it looks like when they play football, and every single person in the press box was like, this is not these guys. Like, I don't know if they're tired, I don't know if it's because of the short week, I don't, whatever it is, this is not these guys. We know it's not the status of the competition. I mean, they played the number 1 seed in the NFC, they played a division winner in the playoffs, right? So it's not that. But whatever it is, they got to figure it out internally, whether it's on the plane ride home. But get back to playing Commander football, because at the end of the day, I think what you saw here in Green Bay was why the Packers and why the Packers fans, even though they got eliminated in the wild card round last year, feel like they should be a favorite in everybody's mouth to be a Super Bowl contender. Is they've got a very talented roster, first of all. They've got incredible coaches who know exactly what they're doing. And I know, like, we would like to say that every NFL head coach knows what they're doing, but to the elevation of being a successful NFL head coach, not every single one of them knows what they're doing as much as others. LaFleur and his staff, they know what they're doing. They got a bunch of future head coaches on their staff. So respect the opponent that you just lost to as well, but don't let it throw you off your game to the point where you come out against the Raiders looking like a bunch of privates instead of a bunch of commanders.
Yeah, that was good, by the way. And I'm with you on the Thursday night games. Monday night doubleheaders. I've wanted them for years. We've dabbled in them a little bit. Give us Monday Night Football doubleheaders instead. I'd love to see it. I will shout this from the mountaintops until it actually happens. I think if we're being honest, though, probably not going to be the case. I know you got an early flight tomorrow. Glad you could jump on with us at least for a little bit at the very end of this. And after going through the locker room and hearing what everybody has to say, lay off for the Commanders now. A little bit of time. Not going to be back until week 3 against the Raiders. Little time to regroup. Time to watch some film, recover, a little banged up, a little bruised, and whatever the case is. So we'll see what happens. We're all going to be back next week. For David Harrison, Anthony, God, I just saw. Okay, so you missed this day real quick before we go. I'm in the garage because Game Day Garage this is what I do on Thursday nights. I do this show, and we have now had an infestation of murder hornets, the real murder hornets. Like this is the big giant hornets, dude. One just flew by my head. So I'm done. I got to get out of here. I did a live stream. I did this. I'm done before I get stung. I got to get out of here. Guys, I love you. We are back next week. I will not get stung. Commanders 1-1 after it's all said and done. Raiders are up next.